أولى ثانوي، فرصة جديدة وحلم جديد وهنعديها بالتأكيد، وهنعديها بالتأكيد. أولى ثانوي.
Dear secondary stage students, year 1, welcome to our English program and welcome to our channel Madrasetna 3 under the supervision of the Ministry of Education. أعزائي طلبة وطلبات الصف الأول الثانوي، أهلا بكم وحلقة جديدة ومدرستنا 3 تحت إشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Today we are going to start Unit 9. Unit 9 is talking about our school, our education. It's a very interesting lesson. We are going to take an extract from Jane Eyre. It's a story written by Charlotte Brand. And we are going to answer questions about the reading text. Let's start together. Our objectives for this lesson, we are going to determine the central idea of the reading text and we are going to scan for details. We are going to discuss together the new words and discuss the meaning of unfamiliar words. Let's first of all discuss this question together. For different reasons, we might live with other families. Can you think of some of these reasons? What are the reasons that we might live with other family? What are the reasons that can force us to live with another family? Why do some people, why do some children have to live with other family? For example, when a child is an orphan, do you know what's an orphan? When his parents die, so he has to live with another family. And again, if someone is traveling abroad or traveling to another city in order to study, he can live with another family. So, do you find it easy to live with another family? Let's see the answer. Of course, we may live with another family if we travel to study. And another reason, if we can live with another family if parents are dead. If our parents were dead, we would live with another family. Do you think it would be easy for anyone to live with another family? To live with someone other than his father or mother? Do you think it would be easy? Of course it won't be easy. I think it won't be easy to live with another family because they have different habits, different traditions, different treatment. But of course we have to adapt. Do you know what the meaning of adapt? We have to get used to. To get used to لازم نتعود لازم نتكيف مع different habits or different situations. If we have to live with another family, we have to adapt to different situations. Let's now discuss some of the words which appeared in this lesson and we are going to discuss the definition of these words. What is the word cruel? Look at the picture. What is the word cruel? In the picture, someone is hitting another, is beating another. So he is cruel, he is unkind. So cruel is an adjective. It means unkind or hurting other. Someone who is unkind or hurts others. Look at this example. I don't like people who are cruel to animals. They are cruel to animals means they are unkind to animals. Let's look at another word. It's the word governess. What is the meaning of governess? If you look at the picture, you find a teacher who is teaching some children. She is giving lessons to some children. So the governess is a woman who teaches children in their homes. She stays with the children at their homes and teaches them. This is the governess. Look at this example. In the past, rich people have governesses to teach their children at home. So in the past, rich families have governesses to teach their children at home. They get a teacher, a woman teacher, who teaches the children at home. This is called a governess. What about the housekeeper? I think this word is very familiar to you. What is the housekeeper? The housekeeper is a person who looks after the whole house. She organizes everything in the house. She is responsible for everything in the house. So look at the example. My housekeeper is responsible for everything in the house. What about the word servant? The word servant comes from the verb serve, to serve someone, to do a job for someone. So servant is someone who works for people at home, someone who does the cleaning or the cooking. This is a servant. Look at the example. They have many servants at home. Those people are rich and they have many servants. They have a servant who cleans the house, a servant who cooks the food, and so on. What about the word orphan? The word orphan means a child who has lost one or both of his parents. So if someone has lost a mother or a father, he is an orphan. This charity helps the orphan. You know the word charity. Charity is an organization which help the poor or the orphans. Who are the orphans? The people who lost their parents by death. Now we are going to have a brief idea about the writer Charlotte Brontë. What is Charlotte Brontë, or who is Charlotte Brontë? She is a writer, she is an author, and the most famous story which she has written is Jane Eyre. So what do you know about Charlotte Brontë? She was born in England in 1816. She and her two sisters all became famous authors. So she and her sisters became authors, they became writers. Charlotte's most famous book is Jane Eyre. It was written in 1847. Her mother died, leaving her to be taken care by her sister. So again, Charlotte Brontë, the writer herself, was an orphan. Her mother died when she was still young and she went to live with another family. And she was sent to school where she was treated badly, and this affected her health. Now we are going to take an extract from Jane Eyre. We're going to take a summary of Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is a story written by Charlotte Brontë. Jane Eyre was an orphan. So again, Jane Eyre was an orphan, like the writer, who lived with her cousins and a wealthy aunt, Mrs. Reed. What is wealthy? Wealthy means very, very rich. She lives with another family, with her wealthy family or rich family. The family was unkind. They were cruel, they were unkind, and they didn't want Jane to live with them. Jane was sent away to school. Jane was happy to go to Lowood School, but the owner of this school was again very cruel. So the student lived an unhappy life. Finally, this cruel owner, left this school. 6 years later, Jane became a teacher at this school, and she decided to apply for a job. She wanted to apply for a job as a governess. What's the meaning of governess? As you know, governess is a teacher who teaches children at home. Governesses were often employed by rich families. She started to teach a young girl called Adele at a big house called Thornfield. The owner of this house was Mr. Rochester. Jane enjoyed her new job and became friends with Mrs. Fairfax, the kind housekeeper. She had a happy life at this house, and she became friends with Mrs. Fairfax, the housekeeper. One night, there was a fire in this house, and Jane saved Mr. Rochester, the owner of the house, from the fire. He said that the fire was started by a servant called Grace, but Grace didn't lose her job. Jane didn't understand why, but she thought that there was a secret in the house. Jane decided to leave the house, but she couldn't forget it. Now let's answer some questions about this extract from Jane Eyre. Which summary of Jane Eyre quickly? Which phrase best explains what the story is about? What is the story is about? Is it about the importance of kindness and honesty? The importance of having a lot of money? The importance of working with rich family? Of course, Jane Eyre is talking about a poor girl who is an orphan. Her parents died when she was young, and she went to live with her wealthy family. They were unkind to her. So the story is talking about being kind to the orphans, being kind to poor people. So, so the answer is the importance of kindness and honesty. The importance of kindness and honesty. Why did Jane go to live with her cousin and her rich family? She went to live with her rich family because her parents died. Find a word in the passage which gives the synonym of unkind. What is the synonym of unkind? The synonym of unkind is cruel, to be cruel. So we have the word cruel, which gives the same meaning of unkind. Again, we want a word from the passage which gives the same meaning or the antonym, the opposite meaning of poor. What is the opposite meaning of poor? It's wealthy. So wealthy is the antonym of poor or the opposite meaning of poor. Now let's answer some questions about the vocab. Question number 1, Jane Eyre was Anne who lived with her cousins and her wealthy aunt. So Jane Eyre was an orphan, orphanage, organ, organized. Of course, here we have the article an, so we want a noun, orphan, orphanage, or organ. But here we have an adjective, organized. So Jane, her parents died, so she is an orphan or she is an orphanage. What is the difference between orphan and orphanage? Of course, the word orphan means someone whose parents died. So Jane was an orphan who lived with her cousins. She is an orphan means she has lost her parents and she lived with her cousins and aunt. What about the orphanage? The orphanage is the place, the organization, the place where the orphans live. So it's a house for the orphans to live in. This is the orphanage. But the orphan is the person himself who lost his parents. Question number 2. The word cruel. Do you remember the word cruel? What does it mean, cruel? Cruel means unkind. The word cruel is the synonym of the word. What is the synonym of the word cruel? Of course, you know what synonym. Synonym is the meaning. So cruel means kind, generous, unkind, or modest. Of course, the word cruel is the opposite of the word kind. It's not the same meaning. It's the same meaning of unkind. So cruel means unkind. So if the question asks you what is the antonym of cruel, you will say kind. What is the synonym? Unkind. Question number 3. Mr. Brocklehurst was very. Mr. Brocklehurst is the owner of the school. He was unkind. He was cruel to Jane. He was so that the students lived unhappy life. He was good or bad, so the students lived unhappy life. Of course, he is very bad. So he is kind, he is generous, cruelty or cruel. Of course, the word cruelty is a noun, so it's not correct. We want the adjective. So he is kind or he is cruel? Yes, he is cruel. Okay, you know the word generous. Generous means willing to give. Someone who gives money to the others, he is generous. But someone who is cruel means he is unkind. So Mr. Brocklehurst was very unkind. He was very cruel. So the student lived an unhappy life. Question number 4. Were often employed by rich families to teach their children. So the rich family employ whom to teach their children? Governor, governesses, teachers, servants. Of course, the word teacher is someone who teaches at school. This is a teacher. What about the woman teacher who teaches children at home? Yes, she is the governesses. Very good. So the governesses teach children at home, but the teacher teaches children at school. What about the word governor? Governor means someone who governs, someone who rules, someone who rules a region or a city. Like we can say, who is the governor of Cairo? Who is the governor of Alexandria? اللي هو the ruler or the leader of a city. اللي هو المحافظ, the governor. But the governesses means a woman who teaches children at home. Question number 5. The of the house where Jane worked was Mr. Rochester. The of the house where Jane worked was Mr. Rochester. So Mr. Rochester owns the house. So he is the owner. So the verb own, to own means to have. But the owner is someone who owns, someone who have. When I say I own a car, so I am the owner of this car. I own a house, it means I am the owner of this house. Okay? And ownership is a noun, اللي هي الملكية نفسها. So own is a verb, owner is a noun, and ownership is a noun. Question number 6. Anne is a child whose parents are dead. Of course, now you know the word orphan, and you know that orphan means a person whose parents are dead. So is he an oculist, an owner, an elder, an orphan? Of course, we said that owner is the person who owns, and elder person, someone who is old, and oculist is a doctor who treats your eyes. He is the oculist. And the orphan is someone whose parents are dead. So the orphan is a child whose parents are dead. Question number 7 is the person who looks after the whole house. The person who looks after the house, is he or she the housekeeper, the host, the servant, or the hostess? Of course, the word servant is someone who do a specific job at home, someone who does the cleaning or the cooking or something like that. But the person who looks after the whole house, who organizes the whole house, who is responsible for the whole house, he is the housekeeper. Okay? What about host and hostess? Host is someone who receives the people at home. And when a woman receives us at her home, she is a hostess. So the host is someone who receives the people at home. Question number 8. I can't stand the people who are to the animals. I can't stand means I don't like those people. I don't like people who are kind to animals, good to animals, cruel to animals, or decent. Of course, we don't like them because they are kind or unkind. Of course, they are unkind. So what is the synonym of unkind? This is cruel. So we don't like people who are cruel to animals. Question number 9. A is a person who works for people in their house, cooking and cleaning. So who is the person who does a specific job? He is the servant. So the servant is a person who does a specific job at the house. Now we are going to discuss more about the vocab, which we have seen in this lesson, but we are going to do that on the light board. Let's go together. We talked about the vocab in this lesson, so let's talk about the parts of speech. What are the parts of speech? Parts of speech means noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and so on. So we have studied the word governess. Let's find the root of this word. Govern. Govern, this is the verb. So this is the root of the noun. Govern. What is to govern? Govern means to rule. So we can say, who governed England in the 19th century? Who governed England means who ruled England. So what are the parts of speech or the derivatives which we can take from the word govern? We have the word government. Government, the authority. The people who are responsible for ruling the country or organizing the needs of the country, the government. What about the word governor? Governor, again, governor is a noun. he is a person who is a leader or a ruler. He is a leader who rules a specific city. So we can say, who is the governor of Alexandria? Who is the governor of Cairo? Means who is the leader, who is the ruler, who is the person who is responsible for this city. And also we have the word governess. And we have studied together in this unit that the word governess is a woman teacher. A woman who teaches. A woman who teaches at home. She teaches students at home. She is the governess. What about the word governmental? This is an adjective. Governmental. So we can say governmental jobs. We must not wait for governmental jobs. We must do our own projects and we must not wait for governmental jobs. So governmental, this is the adjective of the word govern. So govern is a verb, government is a noun, governor, governess, governmental, and governorate. Governorate. So we can say the governorate of Alexandria, the governorate of Cairo, اللي هي المحافظة نفسها. So the governor is a city, the governorate is a city, the governor is the person who rules this city. And of course, the governess is a woman who teaches children at home. As you have seen in this lesson, we discussed together the idea of being an orphan, the idea of living with another family. Is it something good or bad to live with another family, and how to adapt to different situations? We have read together an extract of Jane Eyre, and we saw together how she has adapted to different situations. She lived with a cruel family, and then she went to school, she became a teacher, and she worked in a house, and so on. She adapted to different situations. So I want you to discuss the vocab and study the vocab, answer as many questions as you can, because as you know, practice makes perfect. Until we meet again, wish you best of luck. Goodbye.
أولى ثانوي فرصة جديدة وحلم جديد وهنعديها بالتأكيد وهنعديها بالتأكيد